Good evening. You're listening to the Xtreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode, the Too Extreme Horror Show. I'm your host, Rob. I'm going to be covering for you a movie that came out on Shudder here in 2021, but released in Canada, I believe, limitedly in 2020, called SLAXX, about a pair of killer jeans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, killer jeans. Seriously. The first thing I want to say about this film is, as sarcastic as they may sound about it, as dumb as it may sound, this is a decent film, and I'll explain why. And the sarcastic just starts right up front with the title, Slacks. Going and getting a pair of jeans was always a treat back in the 80s when we'd frequent the malls here in Central Florida. Lots of stories about that. And of course, if you're a familiar listener to the Xtreme Movie Show, you know that we're an 80s based channel. Then we branch off into television, we branch off into movies, whether they're horror, action, whatever you name it. But unfortunately, I'm putting this in the Too Extreme Horror channel slot because there's really no place to put it. But it's a comedy film. It's that comedy horror, which in my world doesn't exist. However, this film is smart. It's smart in the fact that it's sending a message. It has a structure of a horror film. They actually go there with jeans killing people, and that's plural, by the way, not just one pair of jeans. It's actually quite a graphically bloody film, much in the way of, say, some 70s blaxploitation type flicks. This movie, I just couldn't believe the title. I put it on one night. Shudder's one of my favorite streaming services. They have a lot of great content. It's not edited. The prints are fantastic, easy to search. Love it. And as a lark, I put it on. But as I watched about the first 5 to 10 minutes, I said, I wonder what they're going to do with this. Are they going to chicken shit out at the end, or what are they going to do? I had to see jeans killing people. And if you're like me and you want to see something a little bit different than jeans killing people that are young millennial types, that sounds very attractive. So when the film starts, we meet a group of a small group of people that aren't hot. They aren't names. This is a Canadian film. So we have a special subset of horror genre that includes Canadian violence. In addition to the wrestling world, we have it in horror films too. You can think of Cronenberg and body horror type films, especially from that he had in the early 70s too. Some of them we've covered, many more we need to. But here we get this young girl, Libby. She's kind of a plain Jane one, and whoever plays her does a great job at it because she's not full of herself. You don't automatically hate her just for being 20-something, a really young person. But there's a store in the mall that is the up and up trendy thing, and I think it's called Canadian Cotton, which CC, Communist China, I don't know. I'm just saying there's a lot of things in here that you go, are they intentionally put that in to make a statement, or are they just trying to have that double entendre to be cute? But she goes around, it's her first day on a job. She's, of course, like a lot of young people, enthralled under the hypnotic spell of what it's like to work somewhere. Here in Central Florida, that would be Disney and Universal, for example. But here in the mall, she meets a couple people that, again, if you've worked retail, it sucks. You hate it for the most part. Some people may love it if you're young and idealistic and maybe never grow out of it. Those people do exist. So it's interesting that she meets people that seem to really not care for it. You get the guy that made the company. He comes in there and he gives this big speech about what's going on. Hey, we're going to be launching these Super Shaper jeans. It's their high-end product that they're going to work overnight for to get the store ready for launch. And it's one of the stores where you go in there like an Apple store where you don't really touch too much, or if you're going to interact with the product, you're watched very exclusively. The set design is fantastic because this does not look like an expensive film, but it looks like a film that's been done expensively, if that makes sense. Meaning it's shot well. There's not a lot of stupid cutting with it. It's got a very professional look to it, yet it seems like it's $1 million film. I mean, it is. That's one of the first things. If nothing more happens with this film that you like, I can simply say that it was done professionally and done well. The secret to these super shapers is, of course, in today's world of body shaming being on the out and out, body acceptance, fat acceptance, everything being considered something we should strive to a higher level to learn to just accept in today's world, if you believe in that sort of thing. These jeans will help that because the shape will automatically conform to the shape of your body of these jeans. So if you've got, say, a few extra pounds, or maybe your hips are skinny, but your waist is, a little skinnier, it'll shape up to it. If you're bigger, it'll do it. And that's key to what happens next, because one of the people in there steals a pair of jeans from the back room, goes to the ladies' room. She puts them on. She's just kind of doing her thing in the bathroom. And this is when we get our first kill. You see the genes just like a snake, like a boa constrictor, just going around her, constructing her until she gets all bloody and blood's going everywhere. I'm like, really? And then you see like the symbols on the back of the jeans kind of like glow, like once they get some blood into it. And you're like, okay, this is dumb. We got a pair of killer jeans. And here's the thing with the jeans. I have to say this. I couldn't believe that they were going to take a pair of jeans and have them kill somebody, but they do it. Okay, that's cool. But then they take it to another level with actually what you see with the pair of jeans, because of course Libby, being this young one, she ends up getting to be a part of this group that's going to be working overnight. Of course, they're all locked in. Surprise, surprise, a closed system here, where she's got to start looking for people because the second person comes in and just sees the jeans and puts them on, and then she gets all twisted up, falls, and gets her head gored open on a coat hook. It's like, okay, that's kind of a good kill. So what are they going to do for a third or fourth kill? Well, Libby's looking around for all of them, and she sees what's going on. She goes and she lets the manager know about it, and the manager's kind of like, well, we got to keep this quiet, because we're launching a new product the next day, and what can we really do about it now anyway, right? So there's this talk about this Instagram type YouTube influencer coming to the store to do it. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to do it. But as another person goes and finds a pair of jeans, and you see the zipper on the jeans knocking off some of the body parts, and you're like, are you kidding me? It's just not, it's outrageous. It's absurd. But here's the thing with the movie that's smart. We always talk about in a horror movie, if it's dumb, you got to have creative kills. We've talked about this before with 80s films. When you get later on into the Nightmare on Elm Street series, or even the Halloween franchise, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. Big, huge fan of the John Carpenter original up to about 3 or 4. But the bottom line is there's kills for kill's sake. So how are we going to do it, right? So this social media type, Peyton Jules, comes in, and whoever does this role nails it. She comes in, she's got the whole thing going on about how to hold up the jeans and this and that, and you see the jeans strangle her. And I have to say, forgetting about the kills and the creative use of the jeans in it, just watching the jeans themselves physically manipulate themselves, it's like the invisible person wearing a pair of jeans walking around, and you just see the jeans moving. You actually see them walk. You actually see them communicate, which we'll get to in a moment. And of course we see them kill. It's absurd so much that I was taken at this point saying this movie is tremendous. The blood, you can measure it by the gallon count here. It's just all over the place too. Libby had got knocked out by the boss dude to stop her from trying to call the cops, because the only time there was going to be in and out of this closed system is when this influencer came in. So right now you've got mostly an entirely dead crew there. You've only got a couple of people left alive. You've got where everybody was putting a lot of these jeans away, and or putting all the clothes away so the jeans could come out, because as we find out, there's a whole army of jeans in the back getting ready to be put from the back part of the store out to the main part too. And then of course we get to the plot of the movie, because of course this movie wants to have an environmentally sensitive type plot. The jeans take over a mannequin, so it looks like it's kind of a human, walking around. And somehow, and I'm not going to explain the specifics to you, there's a connection to one of the workers there, and it's because this cast is very ethnically, racially diverse. It's friendly, if you want to put it that way. It meets all millennial standards, I would think, today, except for perhaps a morbidly obese individual or vertically challenged individual. That's not present currently. So without arguing specifics about that, if you're triggered by it, one of the workers there that Libby had been talking to, Shruti, I think is her name, is Indian. She's Hindi. So somehow there's this connection between this pair of killer jeans and this side character we see a little bit of, Shruti, in there, and they start talking. And so of course the jeans, because there's blood everywhere, starts writing on the wall, and we find this little backstory that there's this young little girl who's of course a child laborer who was helping pick the cotton, and she took some, and we actually see this little child laborer girl walking off where they not spin the cotton, but where you separate the wheat from the chaff is the old expression. Here you're getting the seeds and other crap out of it to just get the pure form of it. Well, apparently she unintentionally, it looks like she got sucked into the separator and is gored to death rather violently, and just shredded to death. So there's innocent child labor blood sourced into these environmentally friendly sourced jeans. Organic cotton too, by the way. Of course, no additional things to make them grow, no GMOs, none of that sort of thing. So environmentally sensitive cotton getting picked by a child laborer who accidentally gets chewed and spit up. So really, it's not an evil corporation that did this. It's an unfortunate accident that happened. Go figure. It's, maybe if you're in manufacturing, maybe the 5S principles weren't at full play here, and I would admit to that, of being in manufacturing myself. But it's interesting to just basically see that the guy who's the boss basically tells the ladies there, yeah, Canadian cotton, it's not really ethnically sourced, well, organically sourced. It's not humanitarian. It's a lie. But who cares? We do use sweatshops. We do use all this kind of stuff, but who cares? But there's this back and forth a little bit here too, because you get to see where the pair of Jeans and Trudy and Libby are kind of like all communicating together. It's like a big girl group here. But of course, you've got the guy that's in charge of the store here who's going to be the bad guy, it seems like, too, because he takes this fire extinguisher, pisses off the pants by firing it at it too. And then Libby and Trudy are running to the back, trying to hide, trying to survive, and they see a bunch of possessed Jeans eating a bunch of the dead bodies that they had moved to the back there. So it's like a zombie film minus the zombies, but you see the Jeans just chowing away, and you see them like marching up as an army. It's you see where Craig's kind of turned on the girls, because above all else, he's got to make sure that the store's set up for the morning and all that. But there's some incriminating evidence with the memory card that they're trying to look for here too. But of course, how do we end such a fantastic movie up to this point here too? Libby, the girl that basically is like the quote unquote hero, the innocent, idealistic young girl, she gets choked out by Craig, the boss. This Jean marches, all these Jeans, it's like an army of them. They march and they eat the boss, Craig, who's the dipshit guy we don't like, right? They just totally chow him down completely. So Libby, who's there, she kind of wakes up or whatever. The store's on lockdown. It's about to open up. So she's trying to prevent the doors from opening to avoid all the people coming in, so the Jeans eat everybody that comes in. But again, like I said at the beginning, if you know what it's like to work in retail, then you know that the worst thing you can do is be there when you open those doors. Because like Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, when retailers start showing a profit, back in the day when we had an economy here in the United States, people would rush in, they'd look for that one sale item. It's mass chaos, everyone's psychotic. And what happens to little old Libby? She fails at barring the doors. They unlock, because this is all electromechanical here. All these customers, and you don't really see them too much in your face. You just see the whole stampede of them coming in. Poor Libby gets trampled to death. The Jean's there, and then they just start killing everybody, and that's it. Libby's, it's shown that she's got the memory card in her hand, and that's it. So this is what we would call in the biz a perfect happy ending. It's a perfect ending because it ends the way it's supposed to. It's silly, it's dumb, it's consistent with its message, it's engaging enough in a silly manner that, of course, it's not a real horror film. But if you're a young person and lots of things trigger you and you don't have the stomach to tolerate the vast amounts of blood, you can tell that the people who made this film are really trying to play both sides here. Older people that are used to seeing horror movies from the 80s, we would laugh at something like this. Younger people that would see this would probably just be more upset and find horrific the fact that you don't have organic cotton ethnically sourced as a source of severe consternation and oh my God, what do we do about it? How can we cancel them, sort of thing. And of course, nobody really likes corporations that say one thing and do another. We all agree to that. But it's also the perfect ending, not just because of that, but because it's a short film. It doesn't go on too long. It makes its point and you're done with it. And it's perfect because it sends a message at the end. If you can ignore the ridiculousness of what happens with Jeans killing people and what happens here with everybody dying at the end, it's perfect because that is the quote unquote message that a horror film tries to make, or in this case, this film tries to make about what's going on. Doesn't matter what you say or do if you're a corporation. Consumers are going to consume. Producers are going to produce. That's the nature of the retail industry. And us as humans being, you have people, a small group of people that no matter how it seems to work out, whether you agree with their methods or not, they are the producers, and you have the majority of people that are consumers that want to take. And if you narrow it down to that sort of binary outcome, this is a great re-imaging of what human nature is in the 21st century, in 2021, with millennials, with older people. And I think the people that did this film did a very smart thing with it. So I liked it. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's watchable. Right now, it's currently showing on Shudder. You may be able to find it on Amazon Prime, depending on what region you're in. I wonder if it will come to Netflix. It's a dumb film. I'm not saying it's extremely smart, but a lot of horror films try to do something they're not capable of doing, can't deliver a third ending, or they wimp out. This movie does not do that. SLAXX, SLAXX, Canadian sourced cotton, organic speaking. It's worth a watch, ladies and gentlemen. Go check it out. I'm your host, Rob, here for the Xtreme Movie Show. For everybody here watching, for everybody listening, thank you for being a part of the show. And as always, have a good night and stay extreme.